Hey guys, this is Luminous and you're watching a guide on Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter is a melee agility hero that excels in small-scale skirmishes and extended chases. His skills are geared towards deploying high burst damage to kill a single target and setting up the enemy to be hunted down by allies. Though not exactly tanky due to his low strength growth, Bounty Hunter has an above average base movement speed of 315 and a starting armor of 6, which helps him immensely to stay alive. At worst, Bounty Hunter lacks range to dominate the long lane, as well as AoE disruption to repel pushes. At his best, Bounty Hunter destroys the enemy's economy by forcing out hundreds of gold in detection, and reinforcing his allies' gold intake with bountiful tracks. Though not exactly a team-fighting machine, Bounty Hunter excels in preying on squishy heroes that lack good stuns or escape mechanism. Playing a successful Bounty Hunter requires a strong sense of awareness of enemies' movement and their inventory. Shuriken Toss is a single target nuke that deals 325 magical damage at max level and mini stuns on impact. The mini stuns make Shuriken Toss a great finisher, especially against enemies that try to teleport away from ganks. Shuriken Toss has a non-linear damage and mana cost scaling. The damage jumps from 100 to 200, then 250 and finally 325, making the second level of Shuriken Toss twice as effective as the first. The mana cost of Shuriken Toss also climbs rapidly, and Bounty Hunter may need a mana regeneration item to support spamming it during fights. With a 650 cast range, Shuriken Toss is a decent finishing nuke for Bounty Hunter's fleeing prey. Janata is a strange passive that only works when it's cooled down. Janata allows Bounty Hunter to land a 225% critical strike at max level, while also applying a 25% movement and attack speed at all levels. At early game, Janata doubles as a last-hitting aid as well as a great harassment tool in lane. As the game progresses, Janata becomes a spike damage nuke and slow at the same package. With a low cooldown of 6 seconds, Bounty Hunter could burst many targets in an extended teamfight. Unfortunately, Janata will not amplify the damage of Shadow Walk. Harassment, lane control, initiation, and finisher, Janata is a great asset for Bounty Hunter in every stage of the game. Shadow Walk, or more commonly known as Wind Walk, allows Bounty Hunter to fade into invisibility, which grants much of Bounty Hunter's elusiveness in laning and mid-game ganking. There are 3 important properties about Shadow Walk. First, unlike many other invisibility spells, Shadow Walk does not grant extra movement speed for Bounty Hunter. Second, during the fade time of Shadow Walk, Bounty Hunter could attack, cast spells, or even use items before going into invisibility. Third, when breaking invisibility with an attack, the attack is granted bonus damage from Shadow Walk. Interestingly, this bonus damage also applies if Bounty Hunter attacks during the fade time of Shadow Walk. This means a single Shadow Walk can grant 2 hits with bonus damage. This fade time mechanic gives Bounty Hunter a large boost in damage in last hitting, harassing, and even hero killing. One large disadvantage of Shadow Walk fade time is that Bounty Hunter cannot stay invisible 100% of the time. Since level 1 Shadow Walk only lasts 15 seconds, Bounty Hunter will have to reapply the spell in various juke spots, such as above ramps and within trees, to stay out of enemy vision. The element of surprise is an important component of Bounty Hunter's early game roaming, and fading into invisibility outside of enemy vision is key. Despite looking like a simple spell, Shadow Walk is one of the most skill-intensive components of playing Bounty Hunter. Track is Bounty Hunter's bread and butter. Track places a marker over an enemy. It gives true sight and grants any nearby ally units extra 20% movement speed. In drawn-out sieges and teamfights, having half the enemy team tracked helps immensely in granting vision and movement speed for the team. As Shadow Walk grants the element of surprise for Bounty Hunter, Track takes it away from your enemy. Track also grants bonus reliable gold if the target dies anytime within the 30-second duration of Track. Track allows the team to trade kills and come out ahead, or snowball completely out of control with piles of gold. The track animation is also hidden from enemies, which means if Bounty Hunter is tracking from the shadow or high ground, it's likely that the enemy team is oblivious. One of the most powerful non-damaging ultimates in the game, treat Track as a semi-haste, map hack, and Hanamitis all roll into one. After understanding more about these spells, let's take a quick look at Bounty Hunter's normal skill build. Shuriken Toss is generally the first spell to max for a level-starved Bounty Hunter in the long lane. Bounty Hunter should not prioritize Shadow Walk or Janata against competent enemy supports because they're likely to have multiple sentries or dust. Extra points of Janata will be useless since Bounty Hunter will not be able to walk into melee harassment range without suffering massive damage or death. Though this build is extremely mana dependent during the mid game, it allows an under-level Bounty Hunter to contribute in fights with a ranged nuke instead of a melee critical strike. Getting a second level of Shadow Walk is crucial for the ability to steal experience if supports are pulling camps, and it also makes rune checking and early game ganking much smoother. Janata will be the second spell to max out as it scales with any damage item that Bounty Hunter will pick up, and remains to be a huge source of burst damage output throughout the game. If Bounty Hunter has an easier time in the lane, like for example laning against a carry in a 1v1 situation, considering a build that levels up Janata. The decision to level up Janata depends on how often Bounty Hunter expect to proc the critical strike. If he could Janata the enemy carry or supports every 10 seconds or so, leveling up Janata to 2 or 3 can be extremely effective. Though leveling up Janata will weaken his ganking game as a result, the stronger laning against a weak carry can be a good trade-off. Similar to taking 2 points in the Shadow Walk early, the early 2 points of Janata can take advantage of the interesting scaling of Shuriken Toss. In summary, there are 3 key aspects to remember about Bounty Hunter's skill set. Shadow Walk Fade Time is a double-edged sword. It helps last hitting with double bonus damage, but be mindful of the fade time under enemy vision. Track non-stop before fights, during fights, and after fights. It doesn't matter who you track, over the course of the game it could help Bounty Hunter get tons of kills and gold. Shuriken Toss has a mini stun, making it a great tool to cancel out TPs and channeling spells in a pinch. Bounty Hunter is almost always played on the long lane as a solo, and is expected to do it without dying or losing his towers. Against well-placed supports that are packing detection, Bounty Hunter may have a difficult time getting into experience range. Luckily, there are several ways to deal with this. Taking control of the creep equilibrium via blocking creeps, or using attack command to draw creep aggro are good ways to get in some early game experience or last hits. Both Shadow Walk and Janata provide great early game spike damage, so last hitting creeps under tower shouldn't be too difficult. Should the enemy supports be pulling, standing near neutral camps will steal partial experience. If it's safe enough, even considering backstabbing supports for both Shadow Walk and Janata. Unwary supports often give away easy first bloods to Bounty Hunter, especially if Bounty Hunter has boots and they do not. If the enemy supports are suffocating the lane with detection and stuns, an alternative is abandoning the lane altogether and roam into the mid lane. Especially if a mid ally has been harassing well, a level 2 Bounty Hunter can force a kill with Shadow Walk and Janata. Even if Bounty Hunter dies to the tower in these ganks, as long as he's getting experience and helping to shut down the mid lane, it's worth the death. Also consider going to the enemy jungle if there are weak junglers. Most jungler run out of regen items a minute 3 or 4 into the game, and with the level 3 or 4 Bounty Hunter, his burst damage may be enough to force kills on jungler that have been tanking neutrals. Bounty Hunter is also an obnoxious rune checker, as he could swipe runes right under the noses of other heroes. These runes more often than not amplify Bounty Hunter's ganking power in the early game. Smart enemies might push in Bounty Hunter's absence, such that if Bounty Hunter double backs into the lane, he might find experience under the tower with greater safety. Checking inventory and item progression is an important skill to learn as a Dota player, but for Bounty Hunter, it's often the difference between life and death. Keep a close eye on enemy supports and initiators because they will most likely have Dust, Sentry, or Gem. This means at the beginning of the game, diligently check items of enemy heroes. If you notice a lack of detection, you could play more aggressively with tons of options to dive or escape. Pay attention to enemy support movement to know if they place Observer or Preemptive Sentry wards, especially in the river, since this will save Bounty Hunter from a lot of surprising ganks. Apart from extremely rare cases, it's imperative that Bounty Hunter leaves the lane and start ganking once he reaches level 6 or 7. Although Bounty Hunter can be farmed and played as a carry, his skill set and stat growth is more suited to be played as an assassin. Successful ganks give Bounty Hunter and his allies more gold through track. Not only does the gold and the experience make future ganks easier, but the opponent lose gold, farm time, teleport scroll, and other resources. Aside from a few reasons to stay in lane, go gank, gank, gank. In ganks, Bounty Hunter will likely pop out invisibility with Shadow Walk bonus damage and Janata critical strike, and then follow up with track and Shuriken Toss. However, in teamfights, Bounty Hunter rarely wants to be in the middle fight until he's chasing. Before fights occur, use track's long cast range to keep enemies in check. With the help of Shadow Walk, poking in from sides, ramps, or even behind enemy position for track is a great way to get off his ultimate unscathed. If a teamfight's won and the enemy team is on full retreat, Bounty Hunter and his team will chase extremely well thanks to track's vision and extra movement speed. When chasing, be aware of enemy respawn timers, cooldown of important spells, and teleport scrolls. It's not uncommon to chase too deep and get picked off by TP support as well as enemy heroes buying back. More importantly, there are times when allowing low HP hero to run away is the optimal choice. focus on bigger objectives such as pushing towers, Raxes, or even taking Roshan as the enemy team is running away or recovering in the fountain. Lastly, like many assassins in the game, make sure that Bounty Hunter isn't farming in enemy vision. If Bounty Hunter is last setting away in a lane, enemy heroes will also know when they could farm safely. Should Bounty Hunter need to farm in jungle and stay out of enemy sight. Furthermore, take the opportunity to roam behind enemy lines. More often than not, you'll find low HP support or even couriers for easy pickoff. These pickoff creates a huge sense of danger for the enemy team, and it's a great way to get into their head. Apart from straight killing the enemies, not being on the map is one of Bounty Hunter's best weapon in wasting preemptive wards and preventing enemy from farming. Bounty Hunter has several major weaknesses in his stats and spells, and a careful consideration of items is vital in ensuring that he can contribute to the team. Bounty Hunter wants a mixture of HP and mana item to address his weak strength and intelligence growth. He should go for items that improve his utility role, since his spells don't offer too much crowd control or insane damage in fights. Plan ahead and ensure that you have enough item slots for Bounty Hunter, since he has a wide range of fairly inexpensive items at the start. Starting item wise, there are two major builds. One is getting boots and regen, or the second one is massing branches, a stout shield, and regen. Deciding which starting build to use comes down to the question of, can the enemy support skill Bounty Hunter if they catch up to him? If the answer is yes, it's meaningless to get extra regen or damage block, just get the boots to run away from the deadly initiation. Take advantage of the side shop. If the lane is 1v1, upgrading Stout Shield into Poor Man's Shield or picking up an Orb of Venom can give Bounty Hunter a huge advantage in lane. For stats, items like Magic Wand, Power Treads, and Drums of Endurance all tackle both his health and mana issues. All of these items greatly increase Bounty Hunter's survivability, though not every one of these items is required in each game. In games where the enemy lineup lacks good nukes or AoE burst damage, going for a greedier build that features more damage or utility instead of health could be a good choice. Drums deserves a special mention for its relatively cheap cost and is the item that aids both in chasing, surviving, and giving enough mana to cast his spammable spells. Drums also doubles as a utility item for the team to make up for Bounty Hunter's lack of AoE presence in the teamfight. The core tanking item that Bounty Hunter purchased in most of his games will be Black King Bar. Most lineup will be able to burst down a squishy Bounty Hunter, and with BKB, Bounty Hunter could charge in teamfights targeting backline casters. Though BKB won't allow Bounty Hunter to go toe-to-toe against enemy carries, between magical immunity, his high natural armor, and track movement speed, Bounty Hunter could last through the teamfight by dancing around enemy heroes. For utility items, the aforementioned Drums is a good selection in most games. In games where armor is more valued, Vladimir's offering is a great early game investment. Extra armor and plus damage goes a long way, provided Bounty Hunter can survive in a teamfight to grant the aura. Mana regen and lifesteal also allow him to duck into the jungle in between ganks to maintain his farm. It also makes it a lot easier for a team to clear ancients and kill Roshan. For more ganking oriented items, Bottle, Face Boot, and Medallion of Courage are cheap ones to pick up. Bottle does a good job solving Bounty Hunter's early game mana issues, and since he's always on the prowl, checking for runes will further aid his ganks. Face Boot is a decent alternative to Power Treads for its great synergy with Janata and Track. Face Boots offer one of the cheapest way to get plus 24 damage in the early game, giving Janata a huge boost in damage output. Of course, using the Phase ability during chases when Track is up puts Bounty Hunter close to maximum movement speed. Similarly, Medallion of Courage also works well with Janata, though the items aim to assist the team's damage output more so than his own. Medallion also helps with jungling and Roshan, so it's a decent buy from time to time. Situational items include Orchid, Scythe of Ice, Desolator, and Manta Style. Orchid and Scythe of Ice give Bounty Hunter ways to deal with pesky escape spells, and the mana regeneration is quite useful. If the team needs another damage source, Desolator give Bounty Hunter and his team some good spike damage. The minus armor of Desolator applies before the Janata critical strike goes off, so it deals a lot more damage than the Desolator would do on another hero. Finally, the generic agility items such as Manta Style or Butterfly offer some more late game damage and survivability, although they are generally better items for similar costs that gives either more damage or more utility for the team. For a hero that lacks an AoE spell, Bounty Hunter offers much to the team in both ganks and team fights. Shadow Walk provides Bounty Hunter with the ability to scout and gank, and in conjunction with multiple tracks, it could help the team to ensure kills and accelerate their farm. Playing a masterful Bounty Hunter requires awareness of the enemy's vision and inventory, while managing his own restricted health and mana pool, and applying constant pressure by tracking and ganking. Bounty Hunter is one of the hardest heroes to play well in top tier games, but is ridiculously destructive when played properly. Keep on tracking and have fun playing Bounty Hunter. As always, I hope you guys found this guide helpful and educational. You can find the item and skill build of this guide in your Dota2 client. My next hero guide will be on the support hero Crystal Maiden, one of my favorite heroes of all time. You can check out all of my guides here on this particular playlist. And that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, this is Luminous, signing off. GG guys.